You wake up every morning, you put in the hours, you do exactly what society told you to do, and yet you probably feel like you're pushing against a wall that won't move. You are working harder than ever, but financial freedom feels further away by the day. The formula we were all handed was straightforward. Study hard, get a secure job, buy a house, work for 40 years, and then retire comfortably. For decades, millions of Americans followed that blueprint. And in the years following World War II, it reliably produced actual, tangible prosperity. Back then, wages grew right alongside economic productivity. A single income could support an entire family. Homes were accessible. Education didn't require decades of repayment. The middle class expanded because the math actually worked. Today, if you play by that exact same rulebook, the math produces a different result. You aren't earning less, but your money is buying less. Your inability to build wealth despite your effort suggests that the rules of the game have changed. To understand how you became disconnected from the rewards of your labor, we have to look at how the system was actually built. This chart tracks average wages versus the cost of living. Over the last several decades, a silent divergence occurred. While wages largely flatlined, costs exploded upward. The price of essential needs, housing, healthcare, education, detached from reality, outpacing our paychecks entirely. This created a crisis of purchasing power. The absolute dollar amount printed on your paycheck is irrelevant if the volume of goods and services those dollars can acquire is shrinking. People responded by increasing their labor. They worked longer hours and took on second jobs. But because their money was systematically devalued, that extra effort was erased by rising prices before it could ever accumulate into savings. The economy transitioned into a system of extraction. Mathematical growth no longer translated into middle-class wealth. Instead, it increasingly diverted value away from the workers who created it. As the gap between stagnant wages and rising costs grew wider, the system offered a highly profitable solution to keep everyone participating: consumer debt. It acted as an artificial bridge. Credit allowed people to maintain their expected standard of living, buying the car, keeping the house, without increasing pay. Instead, they were simply borrowing from their future labor. This cycle was set through perfectly normalized mechanisms: rolling credit card balances, extended auto loans, buy now, pay later plans. Everything felt accessible, as long as you could cover the minimum monthly payment. Compound interest attacks income. Because of interest, a massive portion of every future paycheck is already promised to someone else before it ever hits your bank account. Here is the core divergence. While the middle class trades finite hours of their lives to service their debts, the wealthy operate on the other side of the equation. They build and own the systems that capture those interest payments. Consumer debt is the architecture the system relies on to continuously siphon wealth upward. To prevent people from questioning this mathematical reality, the system actively rewards endless consumption. We spend years chasing things that mimic the appearance of success: status symbols, luxury goods, the temporary validation of a new purchase. But looking wealthy is completely disconnected from actually being wealthy. It exploits a basic psychological vulnerability. In order to feel successful in the short term, consumers eagerly spend their income on liabilities, items that rapidly depreciate in value the moment they are purchased. This cycle of consumerism functions as a systemic distraction. As long as you are focused on buying the product, you are not focused on acquiring the underlying assets that produce it. Exiting this loop requires a structural shift in how you operate. You have to move from consuming to creating, from spending to owning. Real wealth is insulated from systemic devaluation through specific asset classes: privately owned businesses, income-producing real estate, and intellectual property. This diagram demonstrates the mechanics of leverage. Instead of trading 1 hour of work for 1 hour of pay, ownership multiplies your output. It allows the value of your assets to compound and grow independent of your personal daily labor. Making this transition still demands intense discipline and hard work, but the objective changes. You redirect your effort away from earning a stagnant wage and focus entirely on acquiring equity. The modern financial machine was built to consume your labor. But by understanding its mechanics and mastering the rules of ownership, you bypass the cycle entirely. You stop running their race and start building your own future.